before you start a business, there's some key questions you should ask that will help you plan what it will look like in the future. I started my first business about 26 years ago, and my current one's been running for 17 years. So here's some things that I've learned along the way that will hopefully help you get there faster than it's taken me. And so the first thing is understanding the difference of a business versus self-employment. When people start a business, they often start off by making a job for themselves. So especially if you think about a service business, if someone's good at graphic design, then they go and start doing graphics for people. And so they're providing the services. That's great. You can earn a good salary from that. There are businesses on YouTube everyone talks about, the $1 million one-person business, which seems like a complete headache to me. But everyone likes the idea because they don't have to manage people. We'll get to that in a moment. However, the business all depends on you and you doing the work. So if you don't show up to work one day, then the business starts to fall over. You can't go on a decent amount of holiday because then there'll be no one there to provide the service, and people don't want to pay when you're not doing the work. So you're still trading your effort to get paid. Well, that's going to be the case in all levels of the business, but people think they're getting out of this trading time for money trap by going and starting a business. But if you become self-employed, you're doing the same thing anyway, and trading your time for money is what all of us do. It just depends on the amount of leverage you have. When you're self-employed, you don't have as much leverage. And so that's kind of the first level that you get to. And to break free of that, you've got to change your mind from being a self-employed person to an actual business owner and start building a business rather than building a job for yourself. That means that you need to get other people to deliver the service, is the most basic way of saying it. You could bring in people to do your sales and marketing and other tasks of the business, but eventually, in order to scale the delivery, you're going to have to step away from actually doing the work. And I believe that the sooner you do that, the easier it is to scale the business. Because as the business owner or business builder, you need to spend more of your time on the higher value activities, which is marketing the business and making sales. The more of those you make, the more the business grows. The more of the service you deliver, you hit a limit at some point and you can't grow past it. So you must be able to scale the service delivery. That means hiring in people to follow your processes to create the level of work that you are happy with in your business, whatever that quality level is. And they're never going to do it perfectly like you, but they need to do it to a standard that you're happy with, that clients are happy with, and that people are willing to pay for, basically. So once you get out of the delivery, then you start working on the marketing to bring in more leads, and you'll be doing the sales as well, and start stepping out of those jobs. Sales is probably after marketing because it's a bit of a harder skill for people to learn. So you might get people to run your marketing for you once you know what's working and say, hey, just go and do a bunch more of this because it works, and that'll bring the leads, and you keep doing the sales. Eventually you step out of the sales role into a more leadership position where you're managing the managers of the business and setting the strategic vision and those kind of things, which is when you're getting into like the first million of a business, which only 4% of businesses make. Let's be realistic about this. Despite what you see on Instagram, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And so getting to the first million, you're not going to have you're not going to be like a CEO or have this massive, like a sales manager, marketing manager, operations manager, all these kind of things. If you just do the math on the salary that those take and what those people need to be paid, you're not going to be making any money. And so that stage, you're probably still running the whole show. And then as you get closer to that $10 million mark and making those jumps, that's when you start to build out your leadership team, when you have different managers for the different functions and can focus more on the bigger strategic decision and really figure out where you can create the value in the business that no one else can. The other bit that people don't think about is how they'll exit their business later on as well. And so as a self-employed person, if you try and sell your business, it's not worth very much because you're selling a job to someone. It's like, oh, I could go and get a regular job that gets this amount of money, or I could come in and get all the headaches that you have to deal with as a business owner combined with it, and probably not make that much more money. So in order to sell the business, eventually you need to build a business that runs without you, which is what the whole aim of building a business is. Robert Kiyosaki kind of defined it as, if you can leave your business running for 12 months and come back to find it running better than when you left it, then you've created a real business that is an asset that other people want to buy. Once you have that asset, like, you can just keep growing it, basically. Like, a lot of people tap out at a certain level of growing their business because it's the personal challenge that you have to go through in order to get it to the next level, and that becomes the struggle for people. If you look at any business, the business owner is the main constraint in the business, no matter what size it is. If you're self-employed and making 100k, then the person running the business, you don't know how to make past 100k and get to that next level. If you knew how to do it, then over time you would have done it by now. So you got to learn what to do, and then get yourself to do the things that will get you to that next level. And so you keep hitting a ceiling based on what your skill level is and what you can handle. So in the beginning, if you're the graphic designer and you're doing all the work, your skill is in graphic design. It's probably not in marketing or sales. And so then you develop skills in those areas and get other graphic designers in, and then you can scale up the business further, because now you're limited by your marketing ability or limited by your sales ability at the next levels, rather than being limited by how much graphic design you can actually do. So every new skill you learn at the higher level of the business means you can expand the growth of the business. Some people don't know, most people don't know how to get a business from $1 million to $10 million. 10 million, like, I've never done 10 million to 100 million. And so that becomes a barrier for learning those skills. But if you know who you need to hire, especially when you get to those levels and you have the cash flow to do it, it becomes a different job in terms of, now I need to find the right people who can get me to the $100 million level. And that's a more talent acquisition than a client acquisition problem. You've already hopefully solved client acquisition in the earlier stages. And so if you have a business that you want to sell one day, and every business, you should want to be able to sell it at some point, because even if you think you're never going to sell it, you probably will want to sell it, but you're going to die at some point. And so you need to be able to hand over the business so it keeps running without you. And that's why building a business is so important, and not having everything rely on you. And where people get stuck, they struggle because they can't let go of all the aspects of the business. So Roland Fraser has a model called the 5 exits of the business. So you first exit the technical work, which is like being the graphic designer. Then you exit the manager work, which would be like the operations or sales or marketing manager level. Then you exit the CEO level, so that's the leadership position, and you're in the board then. Then you exit the board level, and that's when you actually are going to sell the business. And so if you don't make all those steps, then you won't be able to sell your business for as much as it could be worth. And there's a whole bunch of skills to learn along the way, and you just have to do it. So now let's circle back to, why would anyone do it? Because it sounds great. I guess a lot of people start businesses because we're tricked into it. We're promised this millions of dollars and Ferraris and bullshit that isn't the true story of how people get successful businesses, right? They do the work, and it's a lot of work for a lot of years in order to get there, and a lot of skill development. So in order to learn a skill, you have to suck at things. So you just suck, and you get kicked in the face or like rejected over and over again. So like people think that if you are trying to sell stuff, then you're going to get rejected because people are going to say no, which is true, but they don't think about marketing rejection. So if you put out a piece of marketing, not everyone is going to buy. And so while that rejection is more invisible, because it's like, well, some people bought. It's like, oh, I sent out 100 things and 5 people bought. And it's like, yeah, great, but 95 people didn't buy, but were isolated from that rejection. It's the same in terms of your skill development. If you're a graphic designer and people aren't hiring you, or they might not like your portfolio. And so you're getting rejected, but you just might not see the rejection straight to your face. It's not like in a sales role or when you're applying for a job and people say no. It's people are judging you on your work all the time. Clients are disappearing and they might tell you it's for one reason, but it's not. It's some other reason that they've come up with, or people are deciding not to work with you all the time. And so skill development is really overcoming that rejection of failing over and over again, and failing, like, we can kind of get into semantics of, I don't think about it as failing, it's just like learning and developing yourself. And so I wouldn't stress, like, failure seems like a big, like, one-time event that once you fail you can't come back from it. And so you're better off to think about it. You're just going to make mistake after mistake, and most mistakes will not cost you your business. You just have to keep being willing to make those mistakes along the journey. And so, yeah, the only reason your business fails completely is you run out of money and you literally can't keep going. So if you're at that stage, you can consider it a failure. However, you can always start another business based on everything that you've learnt. So if you just keep pushing through, you've learnt your mistakes from it, hopefully. And so it's like, oh, something went wrong there. Well, let's figure out what went wrong and try again. So it just sucks being a business owner, like, most of the time. Oh, there's some excitement out there with the dog. And you've just got to overcome the fact that it sucks. If people knew what they were signing up for right in the beginning, I think a lot less people would sign up for it. But it sounds lovely, and I don't know, I'm a sucker for punishment because I know what it's like and I keep going back. I guess it's like I used to play games when I was young, like Tycoon, Railroad Tycoon, and like Lemonade Stand and things like that. So I like the strategy and the building business idea, but you've really got to have a passion for that aspect of it, not just the service that you're delivering or whatever you're doing. Like, actually want to build a business, and the end goal is to have a great business, not necessarily what it sells or what that thing. It can help if you like that too, but for me it's always about building the business. Anyway, that was my ramble for the week.